Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on X at Fantasy Aceball. And with us tonight is Doc Eisenhauer at Doc Eisenhauer on the X. And today we are talking about the Miami Marlins. So this is just Florida week, Doc. We had the Rays last podcast. We have the Marlins this podcast. I don't know how that happened because we're going in order from worst to best, but the two Florida teams just happen to be back to back in regards to record. So I'm not sure how that happened. And by the way, if you're watching, you see kids running behind me. Sorry about that, but I've got 3 of my kids with me right now because my wife is not having a good day. So that's just what happens. So how you doing, Doc?
Good, man. Yeah, you got a little preschool going on behind you. I'm feeling good. I think that there's a big gap between the Rays and the Marlins. I think the Marlins are on an actually better trajectory, which is, they've been a laughingstock for a while, but you may not know this. I believe what it is they've made the playoffs 4 times in franchise history. They won the World Series half the time. It's like kind of crazy. So they don't really show up that often, but when they do, look out. And, with guys like, Kyle Stowers showing up, Augustin Ramirez showing up, and their rotation looking, goodness, if they can just stay healthy, it could be the best in all of baseball in a couple of years. Look out. This is a group to watch moving forward. We'll see if the ownership's willing to actually pay up. If they notice they're on that trajectory, will they go and make a big splash, or will they make whether it be at the trade deadline or in free agency? That'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's a hilarious stat. I never even knew that. And I've lived in South Florida for a long time, for I don't know, probably close to 15 years I've lived in South Florida, and I did not even know that. So that's hilarious.
I had to read it over a few times. I was like, I'm still wondering, did I read that wrong? But I know I didn't because I checked it 10 times.
Yeah, that's so funny. And I see a lot of the Marlins because I'm here in Jupiter, and basically the Marlins and the Cardinals, their A-ball team is in my stadium here in Jupiter. It's a shared stadium. So I see the Marlins a ton. And I have for a number of years here. And I used to also have Marlins season tickets back in the day through my company. So I went to tons of Marlins games back when they had Stanton, Yelich, and everyone like that. So I guess you could say maybe they're my second team. I don't really root for them, but I don't root against them. But I kind of have to follow them just because I've lived in the area for so long.
Mike Stanton, right?
Yes, I remember when he was Mike Stanton. And the season tickets I had are the baller season tickets to give to rich people who are my clients and stuff like that. So what comes with the season tickets that I used to have, and this was right before Jeter bought the team. And when they bought the team, they ruined it. But basically, we had tickets where you would get all included food, drinks, everything like that. And they had a secret tunnel under the stadium where you could go pregame and watch the hitters doing their batting practice. And you would go down there and you'd be a foot away from Christian Yelich as he's warming up before the game doing batting practice. You'd talk to him, and it was really, really cool. But they got rid of it, and they got rid of the secret tunnel and stuff under the stadium whenever Jeter bought the team. And then they doubled the ticket prices, and I'm like, well, that's lame. They made it worse, and then they doubled the price. And then I got rid of my tickets after that because I was like, that sucks. But it was cool for a while. So let's get to those prospects here. Top 20 guys. Number 20 is Maximo Acosta, who I believe you grabbed in the tool shed draft, and we talked about him last time. And Acosta, I don't want to talk too much about him because we did spend a little bit of time on the last podcast on the tool shed mock pod. But Acosta made it to the majors this year, and he's a lot more interesting than you might think. So I'll leave it at that and let you talk about him for a second as I pull up his F scores here, trying to maneuver the screens.
Yeah, so Maximo Acosta, I didn't really know who he was until recently. And for Prospects Live, I was writing about him, a little bit cross promo here. I help everyone. I'm a real promiscuous fantasy guy. But Acosta does a little bit of everything. He was 22 this last year, this whole playing season, and played a lot of it in MLB. 5'11", 187, maybe as part of why he's flying under the radar. It's kind of super average, but fine size. But he played super young for MLB. And held his own. His back of the baseball card numbers weren't fantastic, but his contact numbers, lack of strikeouts, ability to take a walk indicate that this is a sustainable profile. that you would assume grow. You'd assume he'd develop from this too. So, and there's like some power. There's good stolen bases, really good stolen bases in the minor leagues. 33 stolen bases to 9 caught stealing AAA in 2025. He can hit the ball hard, and again, you might put on a bit more strength as he ages here and MLB level trainers. So it'll be interesting. Max Acosta plays he's just a guy who no one's thinking about. Maybe you should think about.
Yeah, for sure. And I pulled up his F scores here, and you can see now, Doc, look that John added this nice little thing for us here, where he actually increased his stolen base attempt rate from 29% to 36% year over year from last year. And he was successful 79% of the time. So that's like right on that line of like, do you send this guy in the majors or do you not send this guy? Usually if they're around 80%, you're like, okay, this is a guy I can send. If they're under that, you may not want to send them because they get caught stealing too much. And he has a 122 speed score because of these ratings. And as you mentioned, the power is a little kind of like hidden. Over the course of his minor league career, a 102 390th isn't that great. But in the majors this year, a 93.5 average EV and 108 max is pretty solid for a middle infielder. So let's now get over to number 19. This is Esmil Valencia. This is a dude that I want to talk about. So Esmil Valencia came over at the trade deadline. I'm trying to remember who the Marlins traded to get him, but they traded someone to the Astros. And I remember I was in his first game in A-ball, and everyone in the dugout, I think he was like 5 for 5, and everyone in the Jupiter Marlins, they're called the what are they? I go to all their Hammerheads, the Jupiter Hammerheads. Everyone in the dugout was like, good trade. They were all like yelling. This guy was like going insane. And I'm going to pull him up right now because this guy was absolutely ridiculous when he got to the Marlins. So remove that one, add this one here. Let's bring up Esmil Valencia. So Esmil Valencia on the F scores, if it'll load, 155 speed rating is crazy. This dude runs a ton. 103 hit, 155 speed rating. And I'm going to bring this to post-trade deadline because I want to see what his stats were post-trade deadline. So his stats post-trade deadline, 327, 367, 510 slash with the Marlins. So he was like significantly better with the Marlins org than he was with the Astros. And just a name to watch. This is a guy that I got to see a lot of. Have you heard of Esmil Valencia or seen him, Doc? You are muted, my good sir.
I haven't heard much about him, so I was just looking him up right now. Full transparency, I would say I see what you're saying in terms of the intrigue, but the contact rate would be something to look out for moving forward. Below, 67, 68% contact rate for a guy who maybe doesn't have a ton of power to begin with. It's like we got to make sure that goes up. It's not the end of it, but he's already 20. We'll see, right?
Yeah, he's a fun player. I mean, 64 steals. That's a lot of fun right there.
Gotta have something else though. Otherwise, you're Billy Hamilton.
Yeah. Well, he was 19 last year, but I don't know, 327, 367, 510 slash with the Marlins. So he was much better with the Marlins and a fun player to watch, I think, moving forward here. So let's get to number 18. Number 18 is Eliazer Dishmey. This is another guy that I saw. And I remember I was sitting watching this guy for the first time. And I mentioned, I put some video of him on X. And I was like, this dude is sick. I was like, I've never heard of this guy before. And I was like, this guy is a name to watch. And then the very next game, I think he had like 14 Ks or something like that. Like he just went off completely. And his fastball slider is ridiculous. And he pitches from like a super weird arm angle. So he's one of these like deception arm angle guys. But his fastball slider combo is so sick. I'm a big fan of Eliazer Dishmey, just the stuff. And at the end of the year, he finished very strong and was called up to high A as a 21-year-old. Now, like if you look at his overall statistics, you see at 11.9% walk rate looks kind of nasty. But when he got to high A, Doc, in 24 innings, 5 starts, He had a 28% K minus walk rate in high A with a 2.19 ERA, 2.46 xFIP. So he figured something out. Like basically, like right when I saw him, like it was in July, and I saw him, and then like ever since that game, he went off and just destroyed. So Eliazer Dishmey figured something out, like live in front of me, and then was awesome. So fun dude, and the name is cool. Eliazer, like it's almost like laser, like, and he's dishing. I don't know. It's a cool baseball name.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing the Marlins need is more sneaky pitching prospects, right? So 6'1", 175. What did he look like to you there? I know he's from the Dominican Republic, so those can be a little off. Did he look any taller or thicker?
I'd say he was maybe 6'2". Like he was taller than me for sure, and I'm 6 foot, and like it was easier taller than me. Not like I was like, yeah, he's kind of like the same as me. And I'd say he was bigger than 175. I'd say he was more like 185, 190, something like that. Like he's not like a skinny dude.
Yeah, I mean he's passing the numbers test here. I don't know much about him, but yeah, interesting, intriguing guy to keep an eye on. Anyone who's showing this kind of upside in this organization, it's like, yeah, I'll stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean, look at these weird pitches here, Doc. His sinker had 8.6 inches of horizontal movement, along with 8.8 inches of vertical. So, like, that's a ton of movement just in one pitch there. And his fastball, 9.8 inches of vertical movement is pretty good. Almost 10 inches of vert without gravity is going to be like a 17 inches induced vertical break with a lot of horizontal movement again on that fastball. And then the slider was rocking a 16.1 swinging strike rate. So, like I said, the fastball sliders of this guy were just like kind of ridiculous when I watched him. So a lot of movement in this guy's pitches, and he figured out the command like its second half. So definitely a name to watch. Let's bring back our chart here. And 17 is Cannarella, who was drafted this last year. Cannarella, what was he? Was he their second rounder, I want to say?
Yeah, he's drafted 43rd overall. So this was in the
second
one
rounder.
of the it was like compensation kind of. I know there's all these different names for it. CBA.
Yes.
CBA is the round.
So he skipped A ball, so I didn't get to see him. He went straight to high A and only played in 22 games, actually a decent amount for down in, after getting drafted. Didn't show any power, but he did hit 284 and showed good contact. And he's the type of guy that profiles more as a high contact, kind of like with plus speed guy. At Clemson, he had 5 bombs and 6 steals last year. But 80% contact rate in high A right out of the gate is pretty solid for a guy that was just drafted. So I think we've got a nice hit tool guy here with a little bit of speed that hopefully will eventually translate into some stolen bases. What do you got on Cannarella besides having a pretty cool name?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was some hype for him coming out of the draft, and yeah, he's probably going to be a major leaguer. This is a guy who can hit. He's a pure hitter. Will he be exciting for fantasy baseball? Doesn't look like it. He's getting caught stolen 3 times and only stealing successfully once. That's 1 for 4, everybody. At high A, the lower minors where it's easier to do that. No home runs. That can change, but it's going to be, if it works out, maybe a Stephen Kwan kind of profile. So if that works for you, that could work for you in a points league. So we'll see how he progresses. He's got some time. That was his first professional season. Always got to show some grace there. He's big enough, 6 foot, 185, but that's also a classic boring size, right? Stephen Kwan style.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see right here, he had a pretty dismal stolen base attempt rate. I mean, it's a small sample size, so I guess give him some grace. But like 3 caught stealings and only 1 steal getting started is like not the best start. But we have a hit tool rating on him of 102 and a speed of 104 without a lot of statistics. Those are the only 2 that have stabilized thus far to get F score ratings out of them. So that is Cannarella, and 16 is a guy that we all know. I actually can't believe that this guy hasn't debuted yet. Deyvison De Los Santos with the Marlins. Like I thought he was going to be up super early, and he didn't really have a great year last year. Kind of a poor year, coming off of like a really strong year. But he's still young. This is one thing that I feel like a lot of people are going to forget about De Los Santos is that last year when he had that killer year of like 40 home runs or whatever he had in the minors, he was only 21. So he was only still 22 this year. And like, if you're a power hitter, a lot of power hitters don't even like, look at Pete Alonso. How old was Alonso when he debuted? Like 25. Like a lot of these like first base power hitter types don't debut until they're a little bit older. So I think we should give him a little bit of like, I guess like a longer leash as a guy who, yeah, he didn't have a great year, but he's still only 22 years old. And he still put up a 118.5 max EV this year. So what do you think about Deyvison De Los Santos? Is there hope here still, Doc?
First of all, it's so funny. I can't believe he's still listed at 6'1", 185. This guy's like 230. Like, I feel like he looks a lot chunkier. In a good way. I think he's a beast, right? I've been super concerned about him. I didn't really buy the breakout due to really poor strikeout and contact rates. What was his K rate last year? I mean, it looks like he was actually improving last year. Maybe we should give him some credit. You're right. He's pretty young, but I know when he came into Miami, he's struggles taking walks. You can't be out on a guy who just turned 22 years old with that much power. He can't be fully out, but we're going to need more of this improvement. It looks like 2025. I honestly checked out on him because he just regressed. His contact rates. Yeah, his zone contact rate of 71 with Miami and his little stint with Miami in 24. And it was so much confirmation bias for me. Like, this guy can't hit in the major leagues. And, maybe he can. I think I do get a vibe of like a Jonska, I don't know how to say his name, but, John
Kensey Noel. Yeah.
I feel
Merry
like
Christmas.
Maybe a similar thing where we're super, super, super excited. And then he comes up and goes for like 20 strikeouts. And we're like, oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
So,
well, you can see on the F scores if you're watching on YouTube or X Vision or whatever they call their thing. He has a 112 power. That's his only F score that's above average. And I've been playing with the slider as you've been talking, Doc. Second half, his contact rates actually are not bad. Like, they got better.
Yeah.
So as the season went on, second half, 75.4% contact with almost 85% zone contact. That's something you can live with for a power hitter as long as he's going to hit the ball consistently. This is his issue for this year. He was hitting the ball really hard. And in almost 90 average EV, 108.3 90th, and 118.5 max. But he only had a 3.9% barrel rate, a 57% ground ball rate, and an air pull of 10% is terrible for a guy that's trying to be a power hitter. Just like atrocious angles for this year for a guy who's supposed to be a power hitter. I mean, like, he hit the crap out of the ball and he's making contact, but very, very, very bad angles. Right, Doc?
Correct. Yeah, it's just it's a weird profile, and maybe there will be a buy low window. Maybe that exists right now, but yeah, it's just not exactly what you want to see. Actually interesting. He only hit 12 home runs last year. You're right. That's like, am I even seeing this right? That's crazy. He stole 16 bases last year.
Yeah, he did. He stole 16 bases, a 73% success rate.
Yeah,
and he only had one. He only had one in 2024. So
he's a better base stealer than Cannarella.
Yeah, he is right now thus far. Sadly, his attempt rate went up from 2% to 19%.
It turns out he just gives us like 10, 30 seasons, like just the big, huge guy. He just performs
Josh
like
Naylor.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Josh Naylor 2.0 over here with
no power.
Yeah. So here's a fun name. Matthew Etzel, outfielder for the Marlins here. This is actually one of the few guys on this list I haven't seen. For whatever reason, I guess, I didn't catch him in his 2 games in A-ball this last year. And before that, he was with different orgs, so I never got to see him. But he made it all the way to AAA this year. Etzel did, and had a pretty decent year. This is a guy who's like not a superstar or anything like that, but like for deep leagues, he's a nice name because I think he could make an impact. He's almost like, I know his name is Matthew too, but like I was going to say he's almost like Matthew Lugo, kind of, where he's like kind of under the radar, like decent at some things, like may have some fantasy impact. What do you think about Etzel? Like, I think he's a decent player.
I think Matthew Lugo is the nephew of Carlos Beltran. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Is he really?
Yeah, I used to say it was he was a nephew of Albert Pujols, and I realized I got it wrong. It was Carlos Beltran, which is not as cool, but still really cool. And anyway, so no, Matthew Etzel doesn't have that going for him. Also, I mean, he's actually got a good frame, 6'2", 211. I like that. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. You're right. There's like interesting he does everything kind of just pretty good. He knows how to take a walk really well without striking out too much on the other side. I don't know his defense, but this could be a major leaguer.
Yeah, I mean, like the F scores have him like basically league average at everything, but then plus speed. So that'll play a little bit. I mean, 75% stolen base rate is not the greatest, but he does hit the ball to a 110 max EV. His issue is hitting the ball hard consistently, is what it seems to be. But he is still, like you said, 23, 6'2", 211. So there could be some more beef in here. And his contact rates are pretty good. So he's hitting the ball like at the end of the year here. I just moved the slider from August until the end of the year. He had an 80.7% contact rate and almost 87% zone. So his contact was getting better as the season progressed here for Matthew Etzel. So next in line here is Starlyn Caba, who is actually in the fall league. I noticed.
Now we're getting interesting. Now we're getting to the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed some heat here on Starlyn Caba lately. I've seen Starlyn Caba a lot in person, and I'll tell you, I've not been impressed with him.
Defense?
Even the defense, like I think his defense is overrated. Whenever he came to the Marlins from the Phillies, everyone kept saying he has an 80 grade glove, but I've seen him botch a lot of plays. As like I probably watched him 10 to 20 times or something this year, in person. And I saw him botch way more plays than like an 80 grade glove should. Now, like, I don't even think I saw him make any like crazy good plays. Like, I'd say he'd like watching him, I'm like, he's above average, but I wouldn't say he's like future gold glover. And hitting wise, contact there, speed there is no power, like tons of ground balls and like no power whatsoever in this bat. So I'm not as high on Starlyn Caba as a lot of other people are going to be. But I've also seen him a lot, probably a lot more than most people. And that is probably why, because I've just really haven't seen the hype match like what I've actually seen in person, if that makes sense.
I mean, he did have 9 errors this last year, and that's up from 5 the year before. Or actually, it's hard to see it here. No, it looks like he had a similar amount, actually. The year before, he had 10 between complex and A-ball. Although that was in many more games. So I don't know, actually. Man, it's so hard. I freaking hate reading Fangraphs fielding. Am I the only one? Am I the only one? When I'm trying to read the fielding section, I need to go to...
I never look.
I like looking at the fielding section. It's useful for positions, and I always have to go. I always get mad, like just like you. That was live me actually getting mad. I always have to go to Baseball Reference to go actually take a look. But yeah, it looks like he had a bunch of errors. I guess we'll just say that to keep the podcast moving. No power, you're correct. The contact rates are solid. What's interesting and maybe concerning is he's getting caught stolen all the time. He had 50 stolen bases in 2024, but the 37 of those were in complex level. So, like, what's that, right? So, in low A, it's been 13-4, and then in 24, and then this year is 14-6 stolen bases caught stealing. It's like not great. So if he's batting 275, maybe he has a really good. Maybe he has like a 340 OBP or more, maybe 350. And like 16 stolen bases?
Yeah. I mean,
what's your upside here? And hopefully he gets. I mean, I've heard he is going to be a Gold Glove winner. But
yeah, I don't really know about that as someone who's seen him, but like I said, just not as impressive as I thought. 70% stolen base rate is not great, and contact rates are really good though. Like I said, he makes contact, 90% contact rate. 95% zone. That's great, but what kind of contact are we getting? Like,
is this a lot of errors? Is this a lot of errors? 3 errors in 16 games in fall league? I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah, and look at his 90th percentile EV, 99.8. Like he's not even a 100 mile an hour 90th percentile. That's not great.
Not great.
Okay, so let's move on now to another guy that you picked in the tool shed mock, Noble Meyer. let's bring up Noble Meyer here on our profile. And why are you still in on Noble Meyer here, Doc?
Well, I mean, I got him at what, pick 374 or something? It was an unbelievable value. I wrote about him on Prospects Live, and I said sell. Like, I think if you can get some of the fumes of his hype, he was hyped up above Thomas White for quite some time, actually. I had to like shout it on X. Please, guys, move forward. Thomas White's the guy. Noble Meyer's not. That was actually controversial at one point. But Noble Meyer has now obviously definitely taken a back seat. But that doesn't mean throw him out completely. He just he's got a January birthday. Didn't pick up on that. So he will be 21 this year. And that's part of the reason why it's like, yeah, sell him if you have like if people can still buy in on the brand name, but buy if other people are getting tired of him. Because as a pitcher, 21's a weird age. It's still overall exceptionally young, right? But it is also like if you're not showing major improvements by now, because he's been in a professional organization since 18, if he's not really showing any improvements, in fact, he's striking guys out a little less. He's walking guys the same, which is not at a very bad rate. At the end of the day, if things do work out, it looks like it's going to take a while. So, yeah, I mean, you may get a very fatigued GM, and that's when I'm buying because this stuff is great. That's where you want to end up with, right? You say a 6'5" frame. He's a really smart kid. Will he be able to get the command down? I think eventually if he doesn't, despite the deep arsenal, we may be looking at a really good reliever, which would be interesting because it'd be the opposite of Max Meyer, who I think also might end up being a reliever. Max Meyer's got like one pitch, one look, and that might make him a really good reliever. If Noble Meyer can't keep those walks down, though, he might just join him, the Meyer brothers, at the end of the bullpen there, huh? Then that'd be a weird twist. With all the starting depth with the Marlins, it's like it's not the craziest outcome.
Yeah. So I pulled him up here, and even though the F scores kind of hate him because he's not even 100 in anything, I like the movement profile of a lot of his pitches, and the swing strike rate is really good still. He still had a 15.2 swing strike rate where we have pitch level data anyway, when we have that data. Obviously, this is over 2 years, so some of this is from last year still, not just from this year. But kind of interesting to see that we're getting 13% on the sinker, which is his fastball. I guess they categorize it as a sinker for whatever reason, maybe too much horizontal movement or something. 18.2% on the slider and 19.4 on the changeup. So he's still getting a lot of swing strikes on his individual pitches. So maybe like some pitch mix change. Obviously, like some mechanical stuff has to change for him to throw the ball in the zone a bit more. But when I have seen him in person, and I've seen him, I think, 3 times live, his stuff is just crazy. Like the movement that he gets and his arm angle just like really plays it up even more. Like there was one time I saw him and I'm like, this guy is going to be an ace just because his stuff looked so good live. But obviously, like if you're not going to throw in the zone, then that's going to be a problem.
That's the whole problem.
Yeah, exactly. So number 12 is Dillon Head, outfielder with the Marlins. I probably have him ranked a lot higher than other people, but every time I see this guy, he looks really good. And I just think that there's a lot in the tank here. This guy's a doubles hitter. I swear to God, like every time I see this guy play, he hits a double for whatever reason. And I've seen him a lot. He went to high A later in the year, and they brought him over from the San Diego Padres org as a high school player. And every time I see him, just like really good games. So part of this ranking is that, like, for whatever reason, every time I see him, I'm getting good eyes on him. But he also hits in the middle of the order too, which tells me that they like him. And I'd keep in mind that some of these statistics are coming from a really bad stadium to hit in here in Jupiter. But like one home run, like I think there's way more power in this bat as a guy who seemingly to me hit a lot of doubles. So I think there's more here for Dillon Head, who has a lot of pedigree. He's like a high pedigree guy when he was picked from high school.
Yeah, no, he's a guy who I wasn't really in on early. I figured he'd be really raw and risky. He's got a left-handed bat, good frame. And then you look at his stolen bases. He's pretty efficient and he's very fast. And then his contact rates he's been making steady improvements with those. I mean, he's got a weird profile, actually. Like, he's flashed high, then low, flashed high, low, and then, I mean, he's 82% at low A this year. He played one game at high A. I'm not sure if you said one home run, but he actually had 4 home runs. It's still not great, but it's something. It's more than Caba, for example. So you're right. I think there's some extra room for power growth here. This is a guy who, if he can play some decent defense, we're looking at, a guy who could really get on base, make use of that speed. You could become a good contact hitter and maybe develop some power through there. I actually think Dillon Head is sneaky as well as a prospect and a little underappreciated right now.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love a guy who when they're running, they can also get on base. Because like the more often that he can get on base, the more often he can use that skill. So that's a big thing with me for like speed focused guys or primary speed guys. Is I'm like, I want speed guys who are gonna get on base and then use those legs. So let's now move to number 11. It's Brandon Compton. He did not have a great debut, but I think he was also a second rounder. They must have had another comp pick or whatever in there. But Brandon Compton lit up the MLB Combine. I want to say he was like on top for power and maybe on top for speed. And I also want to say, Doc, that I saw an X the other day, and he went straight to high A, so I didn't even get to see him. But I want to say I saw an X the other day that he was hitting the ball like 118 miles an hour at drive line. So Brandon Compton, StatCast darling type that he had rough, like I'll pull him up in a second here, but he had rough contact rates. But if he hits the crap out of the ball and he's also fast, then I think, that's going to be a fantasy guy that you're going to want to look at still, even if the hit tool is subpar.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm still catching up on the FYPD, but just looking at this guy's profile, I like it. 6'1", 225. He's fast. He's efficiently stealing bases. It is a little concerning. Or I don't say concerning. It's kind of weird. He wasn't really hitting home runs with a metal bat. Only 9 last year. What do you make of that in college?
Yeah, kind of weird. Probably an angles problem, I would say, based on his EVs. Because if you hit the ball that hard, like it's all about fixing the angles. Mm-hmm. I love that the guy is in drive line. Like he got a $2 million signing bonus, and I don't know how much driveline costs, but I bet it's super expensive to go there. And so it's nice to see that this kid is taking this so seriously. Like, I wonder what percentage of his bonus he's just putting right back into himself. Like he's investing in himself going to a place like driveline. But yeah, I see right here. He hit at driveline. There's a video of him hitting like 117, 118 EVs the other day. So pretty sick stuff from him. And you can also see, I pulled him up on the F scores. We have a hit tool rating of 94, not good, but a 116 speed rating is good. He had an 89% success rate in the small sample size with 8 steals already. And that's coming in with like only 100 whatever plate appearances. So pretty sexy when you get a guy with power and speed. It's a little bit like maybe you get a bit of an O'Neal Cruz here, right? Like if you can hit the ball 118, and then you're also stealing bags left and right, and you have a bad hit tool, it's a little O'Neal Cruz-ish, I guess, for Brandon Compton. So let's move to number 10. This is kind of the talk of the town, right? A lot of people are on Kevin Defrank, mostly because he's a young kid who can throw like 100 miles an hour. I think he throws 102. I'm pretty sure it's not even 100. But he's a 17-year-old who only played in the DSL. And let me make sure that's right. But I want to say it's 102 miles an hour velocity here for Kevin Defrank. Let me bring it up real quick here. Yeah, over 100. I think it was 102. But Defrank, have you heard of him? I know you're not a big DSL guy, but like, have you heard of him? And is this a guy that you're on, Doc?
I mean, the name sounds familiar, but I mean, the guy just turned 17 a couple months ago. He's only played DSL. He's got TJ in front of him at some point. Hey, those numbers, the triple digits mean something. So he's probably got a future in Major League Baseball if he can find the strike zone remotely. So but I just don't know enough. Like the DSL pitchers, like DSL hitters is like, I can kind of like, okay, let's take this lottery ticket. DSL pitchers, it's like, and American prep pitchers are risky. Never mind this other world over there, which is just so much less polished in terms of like the competition and the development.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's definitely a factor of risk, but like we saw in this tool shed mock that we did, how many guys from the DSL complex league and like low A were picked pretty high, like a decent amount. So I
Now
think
look at their success rates. You know, people are thinking about Acuna. They're thinking about Ellie de la Cruz, right?
yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't say that I would promote that strategy because, like, you and I both talked about it last time that we were the guys getting like the guys in AAA, like about to debut more than the getting some of those guys. But like, if you want a Kevin Defrank in your organization, if you're, you know, in a 30-team league or whatever, I feel like you're just going to have to draft him way higher than you think just because that's what the industry is doing. There's a lot of people just kind of trying to really get these 100-mile-per-hour 17-year-olds for whatever reason right now, right?
Yeah, I guess, man. It's gonna be a long road. Right? I mean, you could like Yarlin Susana was that guy, and he went like his value. Like, there's just so much of a road ahead. You know, now Susana's value is peaking again, but it was really low, like what, a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And before that, it was really high, and blah blah blah.
So number 9 is PJ Morlando, who's a first rounder for the Marlins last year. Was known for like another prep guy, known for massive power, kind of like Compton. So you can see the Marlins are kind of like going on this almost Astros-y type run of getting these like power speed type guys and just completely neglecting the hit tool with their prospects. But PJ Morlando, I saw him a lot this year too. And at first I was like, this guy's not good. Like, I was just like, this guy sucks. I was not impressed at all. Except for with his frame because he's big. But then as the year went on, he got better and better. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I told Welsh because Welsh loves this guy. So like,
You
Welsh
used to love him.
me.
I'm gonna get into that. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, so Welsh is always texting me like when I'm in games, and I'm always texting him, and he's like, "Man, how does my guy Morlando look?" And I'm like, "Not good, bro. Like, not good." But then by the end of the year, I told him, I was like, "He's looking better." I was like, as the year has gone on, I think that he might actually be okay because he was getting better and better. And yeah, I know what you're gonna say because he's like, he said he was not looking good at the fall league. But maybe he's just sick of it. But you see the S scores, they're not bad. I mean, 102 power, 98 hit, 104 discipline, 99 speed. So he's like kind of like average-ish across the board here. But like I said, like he started really bad this year and he got better as the year went on. So I want to give Morlando a little bit of grace here. You can see as I'm playing with the slider that his contact rates improved pretty significantly. Like if we take, let's do this. If we take his whole year, his contact rate was like 71.6% roughly. And then if we zoom in on like the last couple months here, it went up to 75 with an 86% zone. So like he got better as the year went on, 100%. I mean, like that's not just my eyes telling the story, but the stats are also telling that story. So what do you got on Morlando here, Doc?
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at our industry mock. You know what? Where he went? He went
Where?
490th. The very last round, and I'm going to call out your rank, and I'm going to say that the Welsh is out on him because the Welsh was the pick right before that. The Welsh's 33rd round pick, he picked Jake Bennett, the 489. He could have taken Morlando there. He chose not to. You had pick 482. Now, I agree with you. You went Tanner Franklin over him. You know, clearly, I don't know if he should be in the top 10 here. I think everyone's kind of sketchy, scared. Not almost scared, but a little bit like nervous for the guy. He is just not getting it done. And there's a long road ahead. He's still pretty young. He's really young. He's 20 years old. So, I mean, yeah, maybe we all should have thought about him in the 33rd round, right? But that's just how far this guy's stock has fallen. So I think by like just happenstance, by the situation, he's a buy low because you can't get much lower, and the upside is obvious.
Yeah, that's one of the things with this Marlins org, right? As we're going through this organization, I'm just like, all these guys have so many questions. Like, even when we get to the top, like an Aiva Arquette. We'll talk about him in a little bit.
I put Acosta over Morlando with great ease.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think like this org is like so high risk. It's like I said, it's kind of like Astros-y. It's like a lot of really high risk guys, high reward guys with like very low. Like everyone has a really there's like a lot of these guys have really high ceilings. Like the next guy we're gonna talk about with like a floor is just like not a guy, right? Like not a major leaguer. Even like all the way to the like basically the top 5 guys in this org are like set to be major leaguers, but all the way up to like number 6, it's like he might not be a major leaguer either. So kind of a lot of risk in this org here. But it is pretty deep. There's a lot of guys that have tools that I like, and it's just kind of interesting org, really. But number 8, Luis Cova. This is a guy who's a ton of fun. Another DSL guy, so we're not going to be able to pull up John's thingy here. So he's going to get mad at me for putting all these DSL guys on here. But Luis Cova at DSL in his repeat DSL season, 299, 422, 537 slash with 9 home runs and 35 steals. Like he absolutely raked in the DSL this year as an 18-year-old Doc. And 74% contact rate in the DSL is like, that's like an 85% contact rate comparable to other leagues because everybody there is like in the 60s or 50s or whatever. They're all so bad in the DSL. So it's actually a decent contact rate for DSL, I would say. But I'm a Luis Cova truther. How are you on Cova?
I had seen something at one point where something came out about his 40 time, like his sprint speeds at least, and nobody trusted it. Like, the DSL, they're probably just making it up. But he registered something freakish, like forget what a good 40 time is anymore, but something that doesn't exist. Like basically, they said he's faster than Corbin Carroll, which that might be true, but it was like by a good amount. So we'll see. I mean, he steals a lot of bases. He's not super efficient so far in DSL, but he's stealing a lot. He's hitting home runs. He's stealing a lot. He's not striking out a ton. He's walking a bunch. I don't like the DSL very much. I want him to get out of there and show us what he can do elsewhere. But when I look at DSL, you need to, at the very least, be checking off these boxes, right? You need to not be a problem for me in basically any area. If you could not have power, as long as you have a little power and you're doing everything else. But yeah, if you have little power, little stolen bases, and I don't know, or like if you're striking out anywhere bad, it's like we can't be having that. So I like Cova. He's actually someone. I'm fairly high on him for a DSL kid. I think he's up there.
Yeah, the next guy. There's gonna be people that like Cova more than the next guy we're gonna talk about. But I think a lot of this is.
That.
Yeah, I just think a lot of this is kind of league dependent. So Andrew Salas was barely 17 when he debuted in A-ball this year. And like you have to give the guy a lot of like Cova was 18 in the DSL. Salas was like 17 years old in 1 month. Like he should have been like learning how to drive or whatever. And here he is playing in a professional baseball setting with like 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds with freaking Yuri Perez and Andrew Painter pitching to him. And he held his own, man. Like, I know his exit velocities were terrible. I'm going to pull him up here because his exit velocities really were bad. But he's still a kid, and he's still growing. And I'll tell you, like, he takes such a professional at bat. And I saw him a ton this year. I'm going to pull him up here. So a 110 discipline and a 125 speed for a kid who is freaking 17 years old in A-ball is just phenomenal. Like this is a guy that you can't rate on the back of the baseball card. You have to understand that this kid was literally like, even right now, Doc, he's 17 years old in 8 months. Like that's what he is now. He played a whole season at that age in A-ball when other people are trying to make their varsity high school team at that age. Like it's just crazy to me that he did that with a 80% contact rate, an 86% zone contact rate. Like really, like what was it? I'm going to pull up his walk. What was his walk rate? 16% walk rate with a 24% K rate and an only 8.9% swinging strike rate on the season. Like his plate approach and his hit tool, and he even had speed, 39 steals, 10 caught stealing. As a 17-year-old, he's only going to get bigger and faster as he matures. and he's a switch hitter too, like a real switch hitter. I'm just super impressed. I know the EVs were sucked, but like everything else about this kid was just so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I think everyone or a lot of folks were getting high on him earlier in the year. I remember Ross Jansen was like, "Yeah, man, yeah." By the end of the year, he was like, "Ooh, maybe I was too crazy there." And I think that must have been a lot of people because he fell too far in our mock draft. And I as I was going along, I'm like, "Yeah, why is no one taking him?" Honestly, I was just so busy. I was like, "Yeah, he must have really fallen off." I don't know what I was thinking. I actually autoed the round he went, which is the 32nd round. And I just autoed Andrew Walters, which was not a conscientious. It wasn't me thinking about the pick. It was literally just some guy I had in my queue. And I think he's a good buy low, by the way, for very deep 30 teamers. Andrew Salas, though, going late in the 32nd round, 474 overall. Yeah, I think we all probably should have taken a look at him. I think there's a lot of upside here. And we are ready to write off his brother, too, but even his brother got a redemption pick at like 280, which is a huge fall off from where he's been at. But, this is a guy, he doesn't have to worry about the complexities of catching. So clearly there's some good baseball blood here. He's got the good frame. He's showing some promising early things for, like you said, like he was a young 17-year-old. So it's exciting, underrated. Yeah. Actually, somehow became underrated after being overrated.
He's a good defender too. I saw him play this year, second, short, and center field. And he was way better defensively than Cava at shortstop from what I saw. So as a 17-year-old, I'm a fan. I think this is a nice sleeper right now. So I like Salas a lot. Let's get to number 6. I want to say is where we're at now. Number 6, Karson Milbrandt. This is a guy I saw last year. This guy has stuff. Like this guy has no command. His command is like nowhere, but his stuff is really good. And he's a fun pitcher. This is a guy that we talked about a couple times on our podcast T10s this last year. I'm going to pull him up here real quick. His pitch level data is crazy that we have. But obviously it's all from last year when he was at A-ball, because this year he was at high A. And did he make it to double A this year, Doc?
10 innings. Did really well.
Okay. Yeah, so made it to double A too. But you see a 108 F stuff, a 106 FERA, 98 control is where he needs to work. But his fastball, 10.7 inches of vertical movement at 96 miles an hour and 6.6 horizontal. You throw on the gravity there, and I've said it before, when you're adding it, trying to get induced vertical break out of it, which a lot of people use rather than vertical, the induced vertical break, the gravity effect, it varies by the pitcher, but it's usually somewhere between 6.8 to 8.2 inches. So this means that this guy at worst is like a 17 inches of induced vertical break. So usually he's somewhere between like 17 to 19 inches is what this is telling us, which is really freaking good for a fastball. But you see he's basically 3-pitch, fastball, curve, cutter, and that's it. So it definitely needs to develop another pitch here for Milbrandt. But gotta love some of the stuff we've seen from him. What do you have on him exactly, Doc?
What do you see from August 1st onward last year? I'm not actually aware of when he had this hot stretch, but let's just try that.
All righty, we'll put
see how his command boosted at all there.
All right, he had over that period. I actually have it on July 30th, but 2.58 JA ERA over that period, and really a 35.2 K and
still a rough walk rate. Still
22.4 K minus walk though, and an 18% swing strike rate over that time period.
Yeah. Now here's the deal: he's not horrendous. This is not like some of the people. Like it's not even Mizorowski. I don't believe like at his worst, right? No. So there is a lot to hope for here. He's like he'll be 22 April 21st, so still relatively young. We'll see, right? This is like now we're seeing the stuff starting to play up and up and up to the point where now you can almost say, it doesn't really matter. We're getting to does it really matter territory because there's a point where the stuff is so filthy. It plays. But yeah, if we can see him refine that more and more, again, 21, 22 he played this whole year as a 21-year-old, but I guess he started off the year as a 20-year-old. So like, this is like, there's still plenty of time for him to be a guy who doesn't have to be a master of command, but just maybe take the walks down, 1 walk per 9, like get down to, 10% walk rate.
Yeah.
And that's like a fun story fun guy. I'm in on him. I'm really buying him right now if I can.
Yeah, especially with the success that the Marlins have had with a lot of these other pitchers that we're talking about here and that we're going to talk about. Like, I agree with you completely. And this is another guy that you picked, man. Kemp Alderman, outfielder, number 5 here. So Kemp Alderman, we talked about him on the last pod. So we'll dig into him for just only a short minute here because we did talk about him on the last pod. But since you picked him, Doc, why don't you talk about him while I pull his little page thingy up here?
Big beast. He's like 6'2", 235. Crazy raw power coming out of Mississippi. Well, he was a Mississippi kid. I think he also went to Mississippi. I don't know. But he the concern was his hit tool. And now the hit tool is playing up. He's actually making enough contact where like, oh, okay, maybe he's never going to be like a super OBP friendly guy, but maybe we have like a Jake Berger with like a better batting average. Like that's pretty exciting. Maybe, or just like Jake Berger, period, is still an exciting guy because he can actually play some defense. Kemp Alderman, he's got a cannon of an arm. I know you said you like the way he looked in the field too. So this is a guy where, again, like he just like everything else plays up so much. His IQ is pretty high too, that like he just needs to be an okay hitter. He can hit 230, 315 OBP even. It's not great, but like if he's matching 25 to 30 bombs, like that's a major leaguer with good defense.
Yeah, at the end of the season, we talked about it. His contact rates went up, and F scores like him across the board, except for the discipline, which is fine for a power hitter. 120 power, 103 hit, 90 discipline, 108 speed. So Kemp Alderman, and not to mention he was in AAA. So if you're looking for a proximity player, there's a good chance that Kemp Alderman will debut next year with the Miami Marlins. I mean, like, who else is that? Brian De La Cruz or whatever? Like, come on, why not?
But no, they got a good. The outfield is their strength, but it's going to be healed with a third piece. It's going to be Stowers, Marcy, and Alderman, and that's a really good outfield if Marcy can keep it up.
That is a good outfield. Here's another guy who should debut. It is Joe Mack, catcher Joe Mack. So we haven't actually talked much about Joe Mack this year, but I like Joe Mack a lot. Like I've had him constantly, Doc, in my like top, like between like 150 to like 165. He's always like borderline of like making my top 150 and then not quite doing it. And I'm always like, should I go Joe Mack or Jimmy Crooks? And of course, I'm a Cardinals fan, so of course I'm going to go Jimmy Crooks. So like that's always kind of in my position on Joe Mack getting out of my top 150 because I don't want to put too many catchers in there. But he's got a lot of good power for a catcher. This could maybe be like, I don't know, like a Shea Langeliers-ish profile, like bad contact, great D, with a lot of power kind of hitting in the bat. So 103 hit, 114 power, a 91 discipline is obviously not good. 89 speed, he's a catcher, so you don't expect a lot of speed here for a catcher. But EVs are pretty good. So 104.4, 90th will play. And air pull rate is good. 26.8% air pull rate on the second half of the season. That's really, really good. So he's getting to the angles very well here, Joe Mack, which is something you want in a catcher. But again, like contact rates are below 70. The zone is only like mid to high 70s. So like the hit tool is like meh, but good angles and a lot of power here for Joe Mack from the catcher spot.
Yeah, part of the reason I know the Marlins maybe better than most, or I wouldn't say better than most, but better than some. There we go. It's because I'm playing this like 25-team prospects only league, and you get assigned a team. You don't get to pick it. And I got given the Marlins. You have to have a certain amount of their prospects on your team. So I was actually really early on Kemp Alderman. That's how I know a little bit about him. Some of these other guys that got Milbrandt, I have them on there too. I do not have Mack. I looked at him in 2023. He was really close to getting added because he wasn't that like there was some hype coming about him back then as a 20-year-old in high A. But he only had 6 home runs in 120 games that year. I'm like, where's the power? I don't see what you're talking about. He's got bad everything else. Well, the next year, all the power showed up, right? He had 24 home runs in 2024, so missed out on that one. But I think it's going to be tough. I think Langeliers is a great outcome for him. I'm assuming the defense is pretty good. That's what the scouts are saying. So probably, I mean, it seems like they're going to give Augustin Ramirez every chance in the world. They've been giving him the chances, and his metrics grade out terribly. So it would seem, barring like a crazy offseason for him where he's just I mean, it just seems like a waste, to be honest. Like, he's such a great bat. And especially the fact he's good at running. You want to like blast his knees out like as a catcher? I don't know. Maybe you just keep him out there as a first base DH kind of guy. That's fine, right? So Joe Mack looks like the catcher of the future for the Marlins.
Yeah, I think so too. Number 3, Aiva Arquette. This is I'm not as high as a lot of other people on him. I think he was like literally number 100 in my top 150 rankings. Aiva Arquette, college guy, Oregon State. I'm an SEC guy, so I'm always going to be biased toward SEC in every sport. But Aiva Arquette, Oregon State, not playing the best competition. 19 bombs, 7 steals. And like Oregon State has been cranking out good hitters for a while now, probably since like Stephen Kwan or what. I think Stephen Kwan was the first of these guys to come out from there, maybe that was successful. But I don't know. I've watched a lot of video of Arquette. I've watched him in the college, playing in college. There's a lot of moving parts in this swing. Like I don't know, man. Like when I watch him, it's pretty loopy swings and stuff like that, and I'm like, kind of reminds me of Cody Bellinger, like just like inconsistent, where it's like, okay, yeah, sometimes he makes good contact, sometimes he hits the ball hard, but it's not like a consistent, like clockwork, beautiful swing that I'm seeing here. So I'm just not really like, I know he's big. People like that. A 6'5", 220-pound shortstop. Yes, he's going to be a beast, right? So like people like that. But I don't know. Like I'm not really buying the hit tool, I guess. But I do think that he's going to be solid. I just don't think he's going to be like as great as a lot of other people think. So I'm probably down on him, in comparison to the injury. But does that mean I don't think he's a major leaguer? No, I think he's a major leaguer. And I think he's probably like a 2010 guy or something like that with a bad batting average, 230. I don't know. So like, what does that make him then? Like a tall Dansby Swanson, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's he did pretty well. Like when you throw him into high A right out of college, he had an okay contact rate, pretty good one for a guy who's big and not really striking out. And took a good amount of walks, stole some bases, only hit 1 home run, but I don't know. I think he showed up all right. I don't know. Maybe you're right long term, but I mean, this is it's an interesting guy. If Starlyn Caba's defense becomes is what we think it's supposed to be, or what we're hearing it's supposed to be, then he's the shortstop, and that means Arquette will, in my opinion, move to third base because apparently he's got a pretty good arm. So that makes a lot of sense. Big third baseman fits that profile, which is good because fantasy baseball could use some more third basemen. And so we'll see what happens. I'm not super knowledgeable on him either way, but I have done some digging, and I like what I see. I think there's upside here of 2020, but more likely, I guess I'd say 2015. Maybe he can get that up to something. I just don't know. Looking at his college numbers with the metal bat, yeah, I mean, it's weird. He didn't really run in college, but he's running more now in the pros than in college. So I don't know what to make of that, I guess. And he's a big guy, so we'll see. 60 grade speed. I know he's a wild card, and he's in the Florida hitting development. So it's a really tough one, and maybe right now is a bad time to buy with, him going 7th overall. But maybe you can get a Marlins discount. I know people are kind of scared of their hitters still.
Yeah, I'll see him a decent amount this spring, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Metal bats and not the best conference. 4 errors.
You hate this guy.
4 errors in 25 games at shortstop in high A for Aiva Arquette. No, I don't hate him. I just down comparative to the industry. I think he's overrated, I guess is what I would say. But anyway, he's still number 3 on the list, so I can't hate him too much. Next is 2 pitchers that I love a lot. Number 2 is Robby Snelling. I have Robby Snelling ranked, Doc, ahead of Andrew Painter. I've got Snelling as like a top 25 prospect, but that's how much I love Thomas White. Is that the number 2 guy is a top 25 prospect pitcher? I think both of these guys are just like, that's going to be fun. Thomas White and Robby Snelling, 1-2 in this rotation. I guess 2-3 because Yuri. So like that's going to be such a fun
Ryan
rotation.
Weathers, don't count him out.
Yeah, in like a year when both these guys are on that team, if they promote them both, like that's going to be such a fun rotation to watch. But anyway, I'm going to pull Snelling up here because he's phenomenal. And I want to show his because we have his AAA pitch lines we're gonna get it. We're gonna be able to look at his actual arsenal here. So Robby Snelling on the F scores: 108 stuff, 116 control, 107 ERA, for 114 grade. But look at the pitch level stuff, and look small samples. A second half of 1.87 JA ERA, which is Sierra. So let's see over the full year, 263. But man, that's how good he was down the stretch, huh? Look at that, 13 K, 0 walk game, second to last game of the season here for Snelling. But pitch movement stuff, fastball was rocking 94 miles an hour, 9.7 inches of vert. So that puts us in the 16 to 18 category on ride on that fastball with an 18.8% swinging strike rate on the fastball, Doc. That's insane on a fastball. You're okay if you got 12 on a fastball, 18.8. Curve is a 19% swing strike rate, and the changeup 11.9. So just the curve fastball combo has been a beast over the last year here. And again, down the stretch, I'm going to bring this slider back here. Second half, a 164 JA ERA in the second half with a 31.4% K minus walk rate. Like, this guy is such a beast. Like, who is going to, do you have Andrew Painter ranked ahead of him right now?
I think I would. I don't know if I do, but I think I would, but it would be close. I think it would be like a 1-2. They'd be close, which is crazy, but I think that Painter just has the more upside. I think his stuff is nastier. I mean, he's younger, right? Or about the same age.
Snelling is only 21. I think Painter is 22.
Painter's like probably. Is that a fact? I feel like Painter is like just turned 21.
Painter is 22 years old in 6 months, and Snelling is 21 years old in 10 months.
All right, well, I take that one back.
But Snelling is younger, and he's a lefty too.
Yeah, I just think Painter's deeper arsenal. I think he's just got that crazy frame, right? It's enticing. But again, I don't like to split hairs here. When I say someone's close, I'm not getting into a crazy debate. I just think that Painter has the higher upside. But if you're talking about who's going to have the better 2025 or 6, I would say Snelling 100%. Just because Painter's struggling right now. He's showing some problems coming back from TJ. Maybe Snelling has TJ right now. We're like, oh, how did you ever think he was better than Painter, right? It's like flips in real quick. But Snelling, I do love that he's a tough guy. He's a former linebacker. He was actually like a really good linebacker. And he looks like a bulldog out there on the mound. It's different, very different vibe from, a guy like even Thomas White or Andrew Painter. He's 6'3", which is still relatively tall, but he seems like he's more of a compact, just like a guy who's you won't want to get punched in the face by this guy. He's got a nice little greasy mustache going. So I like his presence out there. And like you said, he's a lefty, so it doesn't matter that he's not necessarily overpowering with velo. He's not really sitting in the upper 90s at all, but it doesn't matter. He just knows what he's doing out there. Master of command. You'll love to see it. He's a steady guy. I got the Marlins 2028 rotation as Yuri, Ryan Weathers, Thomas White, Robby Snelling, Karson Milbrandt. Nice. And that's a little bit of respect to. I mean, again, people might be like, Weathers, come on now. Weathers has been an elite prospect and then a nobody, and he's done this and that, and so he just needs to stay healthy. These guys have their prospect shine still, right? White and Snelling, so they'll go out there, they'll struggle probably, and they'll come through it. But my goodness, what a great problem to have, right? Ranking these absolute units.
My comp for Robby Snelling is Jesus Luzardo.
I think I just like Snelling more. I think he seems more reliable.
Yeah, I think he could be. I mean, he's so young. I remember Luzardo coming up was like that, and he got kind of ruined, I guess, by the Athletics. But that's kind of it's almost what happened with Snelling. Snelling almost got ruined by the Padres. And he comes over to Miami and saves his career. So let's get to number 1 here. This is a guy that we both love. Number 1 lefty in minor league baseball. He's my number 1 pitcher, I think, at this point in time. Unless, I guess, if you count Chase Burns still, then no. Or if you're counting Miz still, then no. But Thomas White is just a beast. So Thomas White, our number 1 starting pitcher. Doc, you go first. Tell us why you love Thomas White.
Oh gosh, I feel like I talk about this guy way too much. People are going to start thinking thoughts. I mean, and we'll see with Mizorowski. He had a good little run there, but there's nothing that says that Thomas White can't be better. Again, I'll point to I always say it, but he went up and put on 30 pounds of muscle last year, 6'5", 240. He filled out. This guy was a phenom in high school. Like at 14 years old, he was throwing 91. Like that's faster than Drew Thorpe has ever thrown. Like that's. I mean, but in all seriousness, like you're talking about like a really, really Cy Young kind of pitcher. Justin Steele sits at 91. So Thomas White was doing that for a while now. Cold weather pitcher. He's just got this filthy stuff. I know you'd like to talk about how his slider turned more into a sweeper, I believe, or vice versa.
Yes.
It turned into more of a sweeper. But yeah, he's got a good array of pitches. I want to see this breakdown here on how much he's throwing them. Yeah, so the heater is nice. It does sit up there in the upper 90s. He can, I think he's going to end up touching 100 with it. That's just my personal feeling. It doesn't matter, 98, 99, 100, but it'll be really. It's just going to end up.
I've seen him hit 99. I don't think I saw him hit 100, but
he's still
I saw him hit 99 though in spring last year.
Yeah, and for a lefty, it's just it's just very likely he's a stud. The command isn't like 100, is not exactly where you want it to be, but like again, we're at a point now where it's like, it doesn't matter. Like like doesn't really matter. Like he'll figure it out. Like you have these things that you can't teach here. Yeah, it's a solid 3-pitch mix. It was a changeup that he's also rocking there, and like all three are pretty solid. It's interesting because Travis Sikora was overtaking him in hype, and I kept sitting there on the sidelines thinking like, no one's really acknowledging the Thomas White breakout, which was fine because I was able to pick him up in every dynasty league. But now the cat's out the bag. Thomas White, it wouldn't actually surprise me. Like I'm not saying this is likely, but Thomas White could end up being the ace of the Marlins. Like he could actually be better than Yuri Perez or Ryan Weathers or all these guys. He's got he's got everything you want.
Yeah, 6'5", 250-pound lefty, 127 F stuff, 104 F control, 115 F ERA. And I've been playing a little bit with the slider here. You can see over the full season at 224 JA ERA, which is Sierra for minor leaguers. And over the second half, roughly the second half anyway, because the slider, it's hard to move like a little bit. But over the second half, 183 JA ERA, so under 2. And we have some pitch level data here. This is from back when he was an A-ball. So this is from last year. He was throwing the fastball like 95. And I saw him last year and I saw him this year. He had major tick up, like 2-3 miles an hour on his pitches from last year. And you can see here also his pitches from last year: fastball, sweeper, changeup. So his sweeper was more like a curve or like a slurve before, and he tightened it up. It's got a little bit more. I'd say he added velocity to it and less break, and it's made it a much better pitch than from what he had last year. So Thomas White, just phenomenal stuff. You could see on the game logs even the command is. It looks like it's improving, Doc, because we see here strike rate. He's in the 50s, mid 50s in most of these games, except for a couple here down the stretch. So it's all about getting consistency with that strike rate on those pitches. And that's what he's building on. So a lot of people who are down on him or were down on him from the command at the beginning of the year, especially. I think all those concerns for most people are more or less waived. And this is what's funny about White and Milbrandt is that Thomas White actually has a worse walk rate than Milbrandt. So here we are talking about Milbrandt's command is an issue.
That's what I was talking about him.
Yeah, Thomas White's walk rate is actually much worse than Milbrandt's. But the thing is, Thomas White's K rates are so high that nobody notices because his K rates are in like the 40%. So it's like whatever, like nobody even notices his walk rate because
also at a higher level.
Yeah, it's because everybody's looking at K minus walk instead of separating the two. But his K rates are so high that just nobody notices. But yeah, the Marlins and pitching, gotta love them. You got anything else here on the Marlins or Thomas White before we close out the pod, Doc?
Yeah, this is the last year for Carter Johnson before everyone forgets him even more. He's not even on your list, and he probably shouldn't be. This is a guy who had a ton of upside. People were giving comps to Gunnar Henderson. I may have thrown him on at number 20. just because his defense will keep him in like the mix, and he'll probably rise up as a solid defender and make his way toward the big leagues. But I would say put him on your list, like put him on like your 30 teamer deep list. Like if I don't know what I'm gonna. I think I got to hold on to him for now. I have him in my farm system in a 30 teamer, but I would say it's beyond buy low, but it's like keep an eye on him because that's it's another fun profile if he ever figures out how to do anything fun.
I actually like that. I went on Chris Blessing's podcast. I don't know, a couple months ago, I guess, and I talked about Carter Johnson there. I told him that I thought that Carter Johnson is a buy low myself on his podcast because I was like, look, I've seen him live a lot. In live, he looks a lot better. Like I know he's struggling. He's trying to figure it out. Like the Ks are too high, but I'm telling you, he makes good hard contact. Like when he hits the ball square, it sounds good. You're like, oh yeah, that's it right there. So like me watching that, I'm like, I know this kid he can be a baller if he just like kind of works on some things. He's working through some adjustments, but I agree with you. Not a name to forget, Carter Johnson, as I brought him up here on the score. If you're watching on video format, so that's the podcast. We got Doc here, Doc Eisenhauer on the X at Doc Eisenhauer. You got me, Tim Kanak, at Fantasy Ace Ball. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, rate and review the show, because the ratings on the show, unfortunately, John must have made some people mad and got some bad reviews before Doc and I were on this podcast. We need some good reviews here to counter. If you love Doc and if you love me, go review the show, please. Just give it a little 5-star. Okay, someone got mad at John. It's okay. Doc and I are here now to make everybody like us and save the day. So let's get a nice little 5-star review in here. It takes like 2 seconds. And then also, if you can, subscribe to the MLB Data Warehouse so you can play with all the fun tools that we show off here on the show. Play with the sliders. You can see how people are trending and get to jump on your league mates if you have all that stuff. If you don't sign up, you're going to be missing out because I guarantee you someone in your league will have this stuff and then they're going to beat your ass. So that's the podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.